Hey everybody, it's your old pal Robert from ThrillRide.com. How you doing? So today I'm out here visiting a place in Southern California called Heritage Square. And this is a collection of 8 buildings that have been restored and preserved here that are from like the late 1800s until the early 1900s. And all part of an effort to preserve what life was like for everyday Californians during the kind of Victorian era. Very important part of the state's history, the Southern California kind of land boom happening concurrently. So a pretty exciting time in the history of California. And this is a way to capture some of that architecturally. But what's interesting again is, we're at the end of this quiet residential neighborhood here just outside of downtown LA. And then when you go to the end of the street, there it is. This little time capsule of history behind me. So I'm really excited to go inside and check it out. Yeah, this is one of those little tucked away gems in Southern California that I only recently became aware of. Kind of like Mentryville, one of the first vlogs I shot way back in the day. And this is pretty amazing. And there's kind of the official mission statement: Heritage Square, a haven for Victorian structures preserved for the enjoyment of future generations. Established in 1969 by the Los Angeles Cultural Heritage Board, administered by the Cultural Heritage Foundation, Inc., marked March 11, 1982. How do you like that? I haven't visited San Francisco in quite a while, but I know there are whole neighborhoods filled with buildings still that still survive in this beautiful kind of Victorian gingerbread style, I think they call it. But yeah, you do not see too many of these left in Los Angeles. So yeah, this is a really amazing collection. I mean, look at that building. Can you imagine actually living in a home like that? Yeah, that'll work. So the first home right inside the gate is the William H. Perry residence, also known as the Mount Pleasant home, and first built in 1876 in the Boyle Heights neighborhood. And it is in the Italianate and Greek Revival style. William H. Perry rose from a simple carpenter with a furniture business to one of the largest lumber dealers in Los Angeles. How do you like that? Huh. And was one of the organizers of the Los Angeles Gas Company, and in 1879 was president of the Los Angeles Water Company, a position he held for 25 years. Wow. Yeah, very much a part of LA history. It's always sort of been a bucket list item of mine to own a property that has a nice little balcony, a second floor balcony off the bedroom. So you can sort of step out and survey your domain first thing in the morning. We'll see. I love the cypress trees planted alongside this home. So another detail I learned on the tour is that the William Perry mansion is the oldest mansion in California. Pretty amazing. Oldest surviving mansion, I should say. And yeah, once more, all the woodwork, all the detailing here was all done by hand. So everything you see here was the result of some individual craftsperson. Very cool. From the kind of clean whiteness of that first home to the much more chromatically exciting home right next to it. And look at that chimney. My God, that is one of the most intricately designed brick chimneys I've ever seen. So this stunning home is called the Hale House. First built in 1887 and relocated here in 1970. The home is named after the Hales because they lived here the longest. James and Bessie Hale acquired the home in 1906, and Bessie lived here until the early 1960s. The house was first painted by the Ameritone Paint Company for an ad campaign. They used all 39 colors by the company at the time. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. The home was restored to its original colors after freeway troubles caused by people slowing down to look at the house. Oh, that's amazing. I love the crows. This is a quiet little porch in the back of the Hale house, which I'm sure looked out over a more interesting view, a garden in the back perhaps, but I don't know why, I'm getting some very strong Main Street vibes, like this is some quiet little spot tucked around the back where you can just go and chill out in Disneyland. Yeah, it's very nice. And this wraparound porch in the front is so beautiful. Look at the wrought iron railing up above. Yeah, wow. Yeah, back when houses were works of art. And you gotta love the patriotic flag shield dead center there, and the I'm not sure what that architectural feature is called, that triangular rise above a door entranceway. Any architectural experts know, please leave a comment down below. That intricate sort of shingle work on the upstairs facade, really great. And you can see some hints of the stained glass that are prevalent all over the windows here, and some of the lace curtains hanging inside. Clearly they've done a pretty accurate job restoring the interior as well. Again, really sorry I can't show you that, but I'm already sure the tour inside is well worth the, I think it's 16 bucks for the upcharge. Yeah. I was also very pleased to learn that they do a Halloween event here, and I am going to make my best efforts to check it out this year, because just looking at the architecture, you can imagine what amazing things they could do here. I mean, these are all potential haunted mansions. This has got to be pretty spectacular. Those chimneys, man, I dig those so much. And of course the tour guide said this is the most popular house on the property for obvious reasons, because it is so ornate. And she believes this is also where you're going to get most of the haunting activity, I think. Which makes it even more awesome in my eyes. And of course it's awesome that they have this restored train station called the Palms. I'm not sure if that's vintage or something created for the installation here, but yeah, this serves as the check-in counter, the gift shop, and it's also a pretty amazing structure. Maybe not quite as ornate, but certainly given a level of aesthetic attention that you don't see in too many train stops these days. Yeah, there it is, to Los Angeles, 13 6/10 of a mile. Well, it's a little hard to see here, but looks like this old railroad station is the Cultural Heritage Board Monument number 22. Nice. That's a pretty ingenious way to add a handle to a barrel lid. A couple of horseshoes nailed down and raised up. That's cool. And along with the restored train station, they've got this pretty sweet vintage cargo car. Look at that wood, all the peeling red paint. Ah, the romance of train travel. Yeah, that is awesome. Just hear that chug-a-lugging down the tracks. One thing I love about vintage structures or equipment or vehicles, when you come across these kinds of symbols, TC.G AJO 2.19.65, those meant something to somebody, and I wonder if anybody still knows. I'm sure somebody today knows what they mean, but it's this almost like cryptic language discovered on an alien artifact. What were these symbols trying to communicate? Something on this train car has 3 registered patents, looks like. So this next home is the Valley Knudsen Garden Residence, a 19th century mansard-style petite chateau, a gracious reminder of French influence in Los Angeles. Yeah, this one's a little bit smaller in stature than some of the other buildings, but does have a kind of a unique flair, which I am guessing is, again, that French influence. And this somehow feels a little more quaint and cozy than some of the other buildings. Yeah, beautiful. Again, from the perspective of the modern age, it's a little surprising that this was somebody's home. That is a pretty damn nice place to lay your head at night. Yeah, you can very easily see weaving a spooky narrative for each one of these homes. Now, of course, the tours also only take you to I think through the first floor, so we don't get to see the upper floors, but there is still some, looks like they've done some full restoration work up there as well. So another fun little fact about this architectural style that I learned today, this is called a mansard style house. And you can see that upper floor doesn't really look like an upper floor. And apparently, during the Napoleonic era, people were taxed based on the number of floors their home had. So they would build these kind of second stories that were just made to look like attics from the outside, but were kind of fully decked out as second floors. But I guess the Napoleon's Housing Authority, they didn't really bother to go in and check most of the time, so people got away with it. That is so great. And another very strange coincidence, the person who built this home worked for William Perry, who built the first home on the property that we saw. Now apparently they probably never actually met or crossed paths, but that is pretty strange that their homes ended up being just like 100 yards apart from each other here. Just happened upon this I don't believe is actually a vintage bottle, but certainly with a vintage label, sitting on this table on the back porch here. Dr. Merman's Fragrant Caliodont for beautifying and preserving the teeth. Okay, I'll take your word for it. And it really is great that the buildings are kind of right next to one another, so you can really get a quick sense of how varied the architectural styles are among the buildings here. Look at this beautifully ornate little grate. Yeah, somebody went to a lot of trouble to make that look as lovely as it is. You just don't see that craftsmanship in modern architecture too much these days, I tell you. Unfortunately, I can't share the smell of these flowers out here. I can't remember what these are called, but damn, they are sweet. That is incredible. This building is the Carriage Barn, originally built in 1899 on the grounds of the Huntington Memorial Hospital in Pasadena, owned by one Dr. Osborne, in the style of Queen Anne with Gothic elements. The Carriage Barn was part of Dr. Osborne's residence, which was demolished to make way for a new parking structure. Originally used to stable horses and store a carriage, the building was subsequently converted into a dwelling and garage. There's a hayloft upstairs that was used as a living space. Nice. So this unusual structure is not surprisingly called the Octagon House, and it is indeed shaped like an octagon. And apparently this may be one of only 2 or 3 left in the country. And apparently this was a more popular architectural style back in the day. And the fellow who built it, by the name of Gilbert Longfellow, apparently visited somebody in Maine where this was a more popular architectural style, and came back out here and built one for himself. And as you can see, it's not very ornate. This is kind of a simple farmhouse, so not a lot of overly decorative elements on the outside of the building, but still a pretty unique shape. So the tour guide did mention that if you believe in ghosts, you're in pretty good company, because a lot of these structures very haunted. And this home apparently too, considered one of the more haunted buildings on property. And I guess the Osbornes did some sort of Halloween special back in the day here, and that got it a lot of notoriety. I was not aware of that until taking the tour. But after Gilbert left, I think the home fell into the hands of his grandson or great-grandson, who lived here until it was finally brought back. And the poor fellow, Mr. Longfellow, the relative of the builder, was a hoarder. So the city kept coming by and telling him, you got to clean this place out or we're going to tear it down. And he just wouldn't do it. And finally, when the threats were going to, become real, he called up Heritage Square and said, look, if you help me clean the house out, you can have it. And they took it. When you go inside the Octagon House, there's a stairwell kind of in the central kind of hub, and you can look up and see all the way through the second floor and into that kind of, I don't know what you call it, lookout up at the very peak. It felt very much like a lighthouse interior. Super cool. I wouldn't mind having an Octagon House. Oh, and apparently he also built a little teeny octagon doghouse for his pet dog. Sadly, that did not survive. Hey, Belle. And there you can see in the shadows is Belle. And according to the guide, the octagon house is Belle's house. Yeah. So you are our very lovely host. Hi, sweetie. How are you? You enjoying staying in the shade? I know it's a pretty warm day. It's a good place to be. Oh, yeah, you're lovely. Oh, you want to come out and say hi? Hi there. Hi, Belle. Hi. Hello. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're a friendly kitty. There you go. Yeah, hello. Hello. Well, bless you. Thank you for letting me come see your home, Belle. Yeah, I'll come back again soon. Yeah, good to see you. Here's another beauty, the John Ford House. The Ford House was originally built around 1887 by the Beaudry brothers in their park tract just to the west of Bunker Hill. Huh. The house was situated on 140 North Beaudry Avenue near Mignonette at the time of the big land boom in Los Angeles. Yeah, look at all the detail on the kind of that exterior, I guess you'd call it molding, along the top of the roof line and the columns on the porch. And I'm not up on my Greek architectural column stylings. It's not Doric. It's not Corinthian. Oh, heck. I can't remember. If anyone knows, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. But wow. Yeah. That is lovely. Yeah, this woodwork detail is pretty great. And again, Mr. Ford carved all this by hand himself. And apparently his handiwork is also on display at a government building up in Sacramento and some other building in Hawaii, according to the tour guide. But yeah, very talented. And sadly, again, couldn't take you inside, but there is a lot of impressive woodwork in the parlor that was still preserved. And another pretty beautiful display of Mr. Ford's talents. Well, they clearly spent their money wisely. Not too much flashy decor on the side of the home, but the front, yeah, that's where all the curb appeal is. Very nice. I love that lion's head door knocker sort of piece that's right in the center of that that peak. That's great. And of course, standing in the garden here next to the John Ford House, look at this thing here. Wow. Oh, that is magnificent. I haven't looked at any placards or informational cards yet for this building, but I'm guessing this is not a home. This looks like it might have been some sort of a civic or religious structure at some point. So this old building was indeed a church, and apparently it's not in great shape. The interior is kind of a mess, but they do hold ceremonies in here, and there's some film shoots that have taken place in here. But this was a United Methodist church that was a mixed race church, which was pretty forward thinking for the time. And unfortunately, that means the church did not survive. And so the post office needed space to grow, and they had access to the land, but they didn't feel right about tearing down a church. So they called Heritage Square and had it moved here. And it still needs a lot of work, as again they mentioned, but the exterior sure looks pretty cool. Maybe a little hard to make out, but looking through the side window on the church, you can see the exposed wood of the ceiling that would have been hidden behind plaster. Yeah, very cool. Very reminiscent of the kind of wood we found under the plaster in the Walt Disney birthplace. So yeah, I'm all about restoring old buildings and keeping them around for future generations to see. Algiers Landing Traction Co. Boy, do I love that name. That is lovely. Yeah, look at this thing. It looks like there may be some ongoing restoration work in there. Yeah. Seems the interior was pretty badly damaged, but yeah, they got some, it's like fresh wooden beams in there. Maybe there is some continuing recovery work in here. Cool. So this colonial drug building is the only building on the property that was not built somewhere else and then moved here. This was a recreation to house a collection of old medicines and cure-alls and all kinds of stuff that you'd find at your local pharmacy back in the day. And of course, yeah, again, no photography inside, but when you come to visit, do take the tour, because you get to walk around in there, and there are shelves and display cases filled with some of those vintage, and I'll put quotes around that, medicines. Because as the tour guide mentioned, a lot of this stuff was filled with poisons, probably worse for you than the illness you were trying to get rid of. But a really amazing step back in time, and the tile floor is incredible. It's well worth the price for the tour just to get to walk around in here. Really neat. So out front of the drugstore are these two vintage lampposts, and the tour guide mentioned they have tons of these, and apparently there's another 5 acres of unused property for future expansion, and buildings they're in the process of restoring, and they got a whole bunch of these old light posts back there. So yeah, this is Heritage Square is going to continue growing by quite a bit. Very exciting to come back and check it out in the years ahead. And this is walking past the Colonial Drugstore towards the back end of the property. And beyond this point, not much more to see, but you can take a look over this cyclone fencing, or through it, and get a sense of, look at these storage containers with some of the other relics yet to be kind of opened, cataloged, and preserved. And yeah, they got plenty of space to grow. Amazing. Oh my gosh, what this place is going to look like in 20 and 30 years. Super cool. So just putting this out there to the universe, that when they fully extend use of the property, you know, go back that further 5 acres, I think a working red car trolley line has to be built. I mean, come on, right? Couldn't you imagine that rolling down this Central Avenue? Be great. Hello. Hi there, friends. Yeah, there's several chicken coops on site. Look at you. Aren't you beautiful? Oh man, I love your brown feathers. How are you today, sir? Or ma'am? Nothing more to say? Fair enough. Enjoy your day. Well, that's pretty great. I just overheard another tour going by, and the tour guide mentioned that this garden produces so much fruit that they give away 100 pounds of food to local charity food pantries every year. You know, 100 pounds sounds really small. Maybe it was every month. Regardless, they do good work with the bounty from this garden. That's awesome. Yeah, you just want to come here for the aromatherapy. So many plants and flowers that are giving off some pretty delectable scents. I'm going to keep this in mind as another place to come when you're ready to just get away from the urban madness and chill. It's really very peaceful out here. I'll give a shout out once more to our incredible tour guide, and of course her name escapes me at the moment, and she didn't have a name tag, but really enthusiastic and filled with great historical knowledge and a lot of good historical context too. All right, I think that is going to bring this one to a close. So as always, thank you so much for coming along, and hope you enjoyed this kind of look back at what I thought was going to be a much more modest slice of Southern California history. This really turned out to be a revelation. A lot of cool stuff to see here. Again, sorry we couldn't do any photography or videography inside the spaces, but even if you're just here to enjoy the outer facades of the structures. It's well worth your time, and it's so pleasant here. I mean, it's almost like so many places I like to visit, very meditative. So yeah, nice place to come and get away from it all. All right, take care, and we will catch you in the next one. One more fun fact. These are calla lilies. Calla lilies. There you go.